Hi, welcome to another edition of Entertainment Elite. I'm Andrew. This is Todd. Today we're going to do our UFC 137 predictions. It started out to be a great event. Really not so much anymore, but we're going to do our predictions for Roy Nelson and Mirko Cro Cop, Matt Mitrone and Czech Kongo, and of course BJ Penn and Nick Diaz. Not that that's a great fight to begin with, but whatever.
It's gonna be a good fight. It's gonna be a very good fight, I think.
Penn's
I don't know if it's as good as what we originally had, obviously, for the event. I would have preferred Penn Condit and St. Pierre Diaz, but they jacked that whole thing up to begin with, so we're left with what we got.
We'll take it, I guess. We're going to start off today with our Roy Nelson and Mirko Cro Cop predictions.
Roy Nelson next.
Yeah. Cro Cop hasn't done anything in the UFC, hardly ever, except be on highlight reel knockouts.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously a legend of the sport. He was a fantastic fighter before he got to the UFC, but him and the gentleman in the next fight, Czech Kongo, both great, well-known heavyweights, but they've never really done anything in the UFC. That's the problem. And I don't know why anyone would think that's going to start now. You have a young up-and-comer in Mitrone, and you have a pretty established guy in Roy Nelson, who, granted, hasn't done too much either, but I still think he's going to take the fight over Cro Cop.
Oh, absolutely.
So
it's definitely going to be Roy Nelson, and since we're already on this subject with the heavyweights, we're going to just jump right to the Matt Mitrione Czech Kongo fight.
Well, real quick, though, I do want to say my reason for picking Roy Nelson. I watched him fight Junior Dos Santos, and
yes.
Junior Dos Santos hit him a million times.
Yes.
And could not stop him.
It didn't just hit him like graze him, hit him square in the
face.
face.
Yeah, if you watch that fight, that man's chin is ridiculous. So to think Mirko Cro Cop's going to knock him out when Dos Santos couldn't, no way. So that's why I'm picking Nelson. Whereas Cro Cop's chin has definitely gotten quite a bit weak over the years, so I think Nelson's going to knock him out in this fight.
Yeah.
Now we can...
Yeah, the Junior Dos Santos Roy Nelson fight is just, it's sick. I mean, he just literally for 15 minutes straight, he might as well have had a bullseye right here on his face, and Junior just lit him up the entire time.
Yeah.
It was great. Anyways, moving on, Matt Mitrione versus Czech Kongo. I'm going Matt Mitrione, 5-0 with 4 fights with a knockout win, so... Again,
I think this is kind of similar to the previous fight.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's really the same thing.
Absolutely.
Granted, Mitrione's chin hasn't been tested as much as Roy Nelson's has, so you never know. Czech Kongo could catch him.
Exactly.
But I think Mitrione... This fight, to me, reminds me of the fight at 134 between Brendan Schaub and Nogueira. The young guy against the veteran.
Yes.
Who's going to pull it out. And a lot of people were pulling for Schaub in that one, and Nogueira shocked everybody. But... I've just never felt that great about Czech Kongo. He's not as good as Nogueira.
He does have 16 wins, 10 of them by knockout, so he's got the knockout power. And like we said, nobody's really tested Mitrione's chin, at least not to the degree that we could really gauge it at this moment.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm going to go with Mitrione. I think he's a lot hungrier than Czech Kongo is right now. I don't want to say Czech Kongo's on his way out.
No, he's not.
He's been around for a while, and the younger guys right now are really making a move in the UFC. So I'm going to go with Matt Mitrione.
Well, really, they need the younger guys to make a move in the UFC in the heavyweight division because they have not much going on in that division.
No.
I mean, after Dos Santos and Velasquez have their fight next month, I mean, they're going to give the winner of Alistair Overeem and Brock Lesnar a title shot? Really?
Yeah.
That shows you how weak the division is. That Lesnar's already automatically in title contention again when he's been out of the ring for over a year by the time he fights again.
Yes. Can't stand Brock Lesnar.
It's nothing against that with him even. That's just showing me how weak the heavyweight division really is. So they need these guys like Roy Nelson and Matt Mitrione to step up and win these fights. And I think Mitrione's a solid young fighter. I think he can do it. I think he can overcome Kongo. And that's going to be a big win for him if he does.
Absolutely.
Especially if he stops Kongo, who hasn't been stopped much. He's got 1 KO and 1 submission in his career.
Yeah.
Out of his 6 losses. The other ones were decision. He's not an easy guy to stop, but if Mitrione can impress and stop him, that's going to be a big thing. And I think he can do it. I think he's going to get the TKO here. I don't think he's going to flat knock him out. But I think he'll get a TKO stoppage here.
And, of course, now we're moving on to what is now the main event, which
The main
Yay.
event that's changed 17 times.
It's the third
over
new
the
main
course.
event we've had in the last...
I'm personally excited about this fight, unlike him, because I think Penn Diaz is going to be a great fight.
I'm not saying it's not going to be a great fight, but I would have much rather had the, St. Pierre Diaz or St. Pierre Condit, because nothing would have made me happier than to see St. Pierre murder Nick Diaz, which is what's going to happen to him now, because BJ Penn is going to murder Nick Diaz now.
But he's got a 10-fight win streak.
Woo! He's got a 10-fight win streak outside of the UFC. And just to touch on that, everybody, in the same weight class, Jake Shields came into the UFC on a 15-fight win streak, had not lost in 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Got absolutely embarrassed now, not once, but twice in the UFC.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying that there's not quality fighters outside of the UFC, because there is, and we've said this numerous times before. They are not at the quality of talent that is in the UFC. The UFC is the best in the world, hands down.
Yeah, the problem is these fighters, they do great outside of the UFC, and no one's going to doubt when they come in that they're great fighters. The problem is they come in and they instantly put them against a champion in the UFC, when all they've been beating is guys in Strikeforce who are bums, essentially. You should have these guys come in and fight some lower card guys first.
Absolutely.
Like Jake Shields, they had him get a split decision win over Martin Kampmann, boom, title shot. Name another guy who would have got a split decision win in the UFC over Martin Kampmann and then got a title shot.
Absolutely, I agree.
Not another guy would have, because, we had a 15-fight win streak before he came here. So what?
And for those of you that are probably going to watch this and maybe comment on the fact that Nick Diaz isn't fighting a champion, he's fighting BJ Penn, one of
the
only
greatest
two
UFC
people,
fighters ever.
Absolutely. One of only two people to ever hold a belt in two separate divisions. Okay, him and Randy Couture, that's it.
And he's not 47. He's 37.
He's in his 30s.
He's like 30. Yeah, he's about a decade. He's about 10 years younger. So.
And he didn't lose at lightweight for 8 years. So BJ Penn is one of the best in the sport and will go down in history as one of the greatest. I don't see Diaz doing it.
With that being said, I don't take anything away from Nick Diaz because I think this is going to be a great fight. I really do. If Penn comes in and does the BJ Penn that we all have seen a few times, that BJ Penn that doesn't show up prepared to fight or go deep into the fight,
absolutely,
he could lose. Obviously, I think in a striking contest, there's a good chance Diaz could catch him and he could lose because Diaz is a very good striker. But I really, as a UFC fan, I have to go with BJ Penn on this one because Nick Diaz came into the UFC, beat nobody, and ran away to another promotion because he couldn't win in the UFC. And people who say that, he was young then, during his 10-fight win streak outside the UFC, his best and most impressive win is Paul Daly.
Yeah.
Paul Daly. That's my point about how these guys shouldn't be able to come in and go right into the title picture. That's his biggest quality win outside of the UFC.
Absolutely.
So I just don't see how you can say he's going to come in and own BJ Penn or anything.
Because nobody owns BJ Penn.
I think he's going to give BJ Penn a great fight.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a good main event. My big thing, too, was when they were talking about making this a 5-round fight. I thought that might have been the danger zone for BJ because of his cardio issues he's had in the past. I believe it's staying a 3-round fight now, as I've been told. So, in that instance, edge to BJ Penn. And I'm going to say BJ Penn wins this fight. I'm going to say it goes to decision, though. I'm going to say it's a decision for BJ Penn.
I do, too, because, of the 7 losses that Nick Diaz has, only 2 of them by knockout. He's never been submitted, and he's lost 5 by decision. I would love to see BJ take him down and submit him.
And the funny thing about that is Penn has the exact same way of losses.
Exactly.
7 losses, 2 knockout, 5 decision, no submissions.
Yeah.
They've both got the same thing there, which is kind of interesting. So
neither one of them's ever been submitted, and I would like to see one of them get their first submission here, like that.
That would be kind of cool, seeing as neither one's ever been submitted. But I do think it's going to be a great fight. On the ground, on the feet, it's going to be a fantastic fight either way. So even though it's been a crazy shuffle with this card over the last several weeks, they're still going to end up with a damn good main event and 2 really solid heavyweight fights. So
yeah. As much as it's sad to say about the heavyweight division, these 2 fights could shape up as potential future title bouts for...
Like I said, if Mitrone finishes Kongo and Nelson finishes Crow Cop, those are guys who are going to get put in line for a title shot.
Absolutely.
That's where the division's at right now.
You could arguably make Nelson versus Mitrone.
Yeah, that could be a title contender fight. If those two win, they could end up fighting each other. I mean, that's...
I really don't see anybody picking Crow Cop legitimately. I don't see anybody picking Kongo.
I wouldn't say legitimately,
Nah.
but I would understand if someone wants to pick them based on who they are and what they've done, but I just feel like the younger guys can take this time.
Yeah.
Not to mention, too, even though with these guys possibly getting title shots, let's be honest, the winner of Mir and Nogueira 2 is probably going to be the next after Overeem Lesnar.
Yeah.
So,
Which,
unless they have, like we said, the winner of that fight the loser of Lesnar Overeem.
I personally hope...
This is turning a whole different video, though,
Yeah,
so let's just...
It's fine, but I personally hope that Lesnar loses and he ends up having to fight Mir again, because I honestly
Lesnar
think...
Mir 3.
Oh, I'd love it. I'd love it. Anyways, that's our picks for 137. We got Penn, Mitrone, and Nelson. That's what we got for it this time. It could have been a much better card. I would have much rather liked to talk about GSP, but he got hurt, so we'll just have to wait and see whenever he's going to fight Carlos Condit. Follow us on Twitter, ENT Elite 1, and we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.